Hey man, every woman who's ever chased a man who left has said some version of the same sentence afterward. I don't even know why I couldn't stop thinking about him. She usually blames it on him, his mystery, his coldness, his unavailability. But that's the surface answer, and surface answers are almost always wrong. Today we're going to dig past that surface, layer by layer, until we hit the actual root of why walking away creates this effect. And it has almost nothing to do with mystery, and everything to do with something happening inside her own head that most men never learn to see. Layer 1, the surface layer, is the one almost everyone stops at. Absence creates curiosity. He leaves, she wonders where he went. Curiosity keeps her attention on him. This is true, but it's shallow. Curiosity alone doesn't produce the kind of aching, replaying, can't stop thinking about him effect that actually changes how someone feels about a person. Curiosity fades in days if nothing underneath it is feeding it. Plenty of things create curiosity. A stranger, a mystery novel, an unanswered text from anyone, and none of those produce longing. So if absence alone explained the effect, every unanswered message from every acquaintance would produce heartache, and it obviously doesn't. There's something underneath curiosity doing the real work, and curiosity is just the visible tip of it. Layer 2, one level down, absence removes access to a source of validation she didn't realize she was drawing from. This is closer to the real mechanism. While he was present, consistent, available, reaching out first, adjusting his plans around her, always the one closing the emotional distance, some part of her nervous system quietly started treating his attention as a baseline resource, something that would simply be there, the way running water is there until it isn't. When he leaves, that resource disappears, and the disappearance registers as a kind of deficit. Similar to how a room feels wrong the moment a sound you didn't notice you were hearing suddenly stops. This is closer to the truth than curiosity, but it's still not the root. It explains why she'd notice his absence. It doesn't yet explain why noticing it turns into obsession rather than simple mild missing. Layer 3, deeper still, the deficit triggers a specific kind of internal audit. She starts reviewing her own behavior for what she might have done wrong. This is the layer most people never talk about because it's uncomfortable to admit. When someone who was consistently present suddenly isn't, the brain doesn't default to, he must be dealing with something. It defaults to, did I cause this? She starts replaying recent conversations, recent moments of friction, wondering if something she said or didn't say triggered the shift. This replaying is not romantic longing yet. It's closer to anxious problem solving, the same mental loop you'd run if you suddenly stopped getting responses from a boss whose opinion mattered to you. But here's why this layer matters. The more time she spends auditing herself, the more mental real estate he occupies, completely independent of whether she even likes the conclusions she's reaching. Here's a hidden cause transition worth naming here, because it explains why Layer 3 escalates instead of resolving on its own. The audit doesn't have an endpoint because she doesn't have access to the actual reason he left. If she had clarity, a clean, direct explanation, the audit could conclude, verdict reached, case closed, emotional file put away. But absence without explanation leaves the audit permanently open. The mind doesn't like open files. It keeps returning to them, not because it enjoys the discomfort, but because unresolved threads generate a specific kind of low-grade mental pressure that gets relieved, even temporarily, every time she thinks about him again. Thinking about him isn't pleasant at this stage. It's compulsive, in the same way scratching an itch isn't pleasant exactly, but not scratching it is worse. Layer 4. Deeper than the audit itself, the open file starts competing with, and beating, every other input trying to get her attention. This is where it stops being background noise and starts actively reshaping her days. Other things that would normally hold her focus, work, friends, unrelated plans, start feeling slightly less textured, slightly less able to fully absorb her, because a louder, unresolved signal is running underneath everything else. This is the stage where women describe not being able to focus, or feeling like something's missing even when things are fine. What's actually happening is a resource competition inside her attention, and the unresolved thread about him is winning that competition, not because he's inherently more interesting than her actual life, but because unresolved things are neurologically louder than resolved ones, regardless of size. Layer 5, and this is close to the actual root, the competition for her attention gets reinterpreted, over time, as evidence of how much she must feel for him. This is the layer almost nobody names, and it's the one that actually produces the longing, not just the distraction. She's not consciously reasoning, an unresolved question is occupying my attention. She's experiencing, I can't stop thinking about him, and the mind, needing a story to explain its own behavior, supplies the most available one. This must mean I really care about him, more than I realized. The attention was captured by an open loop. The meaning assigned to that captured attention is romantic significance. Those are two completely different things, but they arrive feeling identical from the inside, which is exactly why this mechanism is so easy to mistake for genuine deepening feeling when it's actually an unresolved thread effect wearing the costume of falling harder. Now here's the actual root, the layer underneath all four of those. None of this works on someone whose sense of worth isn't already partially outsourced to whether they're chosen. This is the part that separates who gets caught in this loop from who doesn't. If someone's internal sense of value is stable, regardless of external attention, built from their own standards, their own relationship with themselves, their own sources of validation that don't require another person's presence to confirm, then absence registers as disappointing, maybe sad, but it doesn't trigger the audit loop reinterpretation chain described above because there's no deficit for the absence to expose. The chain only ignites in someone whose sense of being enough was, at least partly, resting on being chosen, being pursued, being the one whose presence someone else adjusted their life around. Remove that person, and it doesn't just remove a source of comfort, it exposes a load-bearing wall that was quietly holding something up. Which brings us to what this actually means for how you should be thinking about this. The walking away effect isn't something you're doing to her, it's something her own psychology does to itself once the conditions are in place. And you either create those conditions honestly, or you manufacture a cheap, temporary version of them that collapses the moment she gets any real clarity. This distinction matters more than almost anything else in this video. The honest version of this happens when your presence in the relationship was never actually contingent on her. When you were present, because you chose to be, genuinely engaged, but never so enmeshed that your own sense of direction depended on her staying. In that version, if you step back, it's not a tactic. It's simply what an emotionally self-sufficient person naturally does when something isn't working, and the effect described in all 5 layers above happens as a side effect of that authenticity, not as the goal of it. The manufactured version is different, and it's the version most men accidentally build, because it's built on withdrawal used as leverage rather than withdrawal used as integrity. This version looks identical from the outside for the first few days, same silence, same lack of pursuit, but it collapses under one specific condition: any real conversation. If she gets you on the phone or in person and asks directly what happened, the manufactured version reveals itself immediately, because underneath the silence is actually neediness, resentment, or a performance, and people are far better at detecting the difference between authentic detachment and performed detachment than most men give them credit for. The honest version survives that conversation because there's nothing underneath it except a person who genuinely adjusted their expectations. The manufactured version doesn't survive it, because the moment she offers real access, the withdrawal was never actually about self-respect in the first place. It was a strategy waiting to be rewarded, and strategies collapse the instant the audience stops playing along. Here's a threshold worth naming clearly, because it's the line between these two versions in practice, not just in theory. Ask yourself what you'd do if she never came back at all. If the honest answer is, I'd be disappointed, but I'd be fine because I still have my own direction, my own standards, my own life that isn't structured around waiting for her. That's the load-bearing wall being solid, and everything described in this video will happen as a natural consequence of that solidity. If the honest answer is closer to, I don't know, I haven't let myself think about that, That's a sign the wall isn't solid yet, and stepping back right now would be the manufactured version, not the honest one, regardless of how convincingly you perform the silence. There's a specific test worth naming here too, because it catches people who think they've already built the honest version when they actually haven't. How you feel in the silence, not just how you act in it. Acting calm is achievable through willpower for a short window. Feeling calm is a different thing entirely, and it's the actual signal of whether your worth is genuinely internally sourced or just temporarily suppressed. If the silence feels like patient neutrality, mildly disappointing, but not consuming, that's the real thing. If the silence feels like a held breath, a constant background check of your phone, a low hum of anxiety you're managing rather than an absence of anxiety altogether, that's performance. And performance under pressure eventually leaks out, usually at the exact moment it matters most, which is precisely when she finally does reach back out, and you respond from the leak instead of from the actual foundation. So here's the honest caveat this video needs, because presenting this as a guaranteed formula would be dishonest. None of the 5 layers described above activate reliably in every person, because not everyone's sense of worth is structured the same way to begin with. Some people genuinely don't run this loop much at all, either because they've done real work on internal validation, or because the relationship never reached the depth required for absence to expose anything underneath. This isn't a universal lever you pull on any woman in any relationship and get a predictable result. It's a description of a specific psychological mechanism that activates under specific conditions, and treating it as a guaranteed formula is exactly the mistake that turns honest self-respect into a manipulative tactic, which brings its own consequences when the person on the other end eventually sees through it. And a second caveat, just as necessary, this mechanism runs in both directions, and men experience the identical 5-layer chain when women withdraw from them, without exception for gender. Everything described in this video, the audit, the open file, the attention competition, the reinterpretation as deepening feeling, the load-bearing wall underneath all of it, describes a general feature of how humans process the withdrawal of consistent attention, not a female-specific vulnerability. Framing it as something that only happens to women would be inaccurate, and it would also miss the more useful lesson here, which is that the entire chain, in either direction, only fires in someone whose sense of worth has a gap in it for absence to expose. So here's what to actually take from digging through all 5 layers of this. The goal was never to become good at walking away. The goal is to become someone whose sense of worth doesn't have a gap for walking away to expose in the first place. And the strange, almost paradoxical result of actually doing that work is that you stop needing the tactic altogether, because a person who's genuinely solid on the inside doesn't need to leave to prove anything. The solidity itself is what people feel, whether you're standing right in front of them or 3 states away. Everything else, the silence, the distance, the mystery, was only ever a symptom of that. Build the root, and you won't need to manufacture the symptom.